Content warning. The following show contains smoking, potty mouth language, discussions of fictitious violence, and a lot of things that might make a few people feel attacked, but I promise we mean no offense and no insults to anyone, except for the people that we do, but it's probably not you. Man, you almost had to. I know it was just a thing. Anyway, yeah, you should totally start the music. Yeah, let's start the music. Hey everybody, how you doing out there? What is the word? What is the word? I am Solar Gray, the cinematic sorcerer, coming at you from the Wizard's Tower. And man, I can't believe I actually got started on time today. That was a little weird because I was I guess you can say recalibrating my sound equipment and all that stuff in here. So, welcome to the dark side of the room. I hope you like the new camera angle because I'm so out there. What's up, Neon? Yeah, this one's for you. Okay, that's a thing. This one's for you for being such a ride or die. I really appreciate that. So that's what we're talking about. So, let me turn on this fan. Yeah, because today on the dark side of the room, we have a subject that is very near and dear to me, okay? And that is the desire to be clever and how it can get in your way of having fun because way too many people, and I mean that, way too many people have the desire to be clever in opposed to being engaged. And today I'm bringing in some teacher's aids and all that stuff. So, yeah, I'm actually going to be playing some music today just to push the point of what I want to talk about. Okay? That's what I'm doing. That is how I'm getting everything out there and trying to handle everything that comes down today. So if y'all got any questions, comments, all that other stuff. What I will say is this: try not to dominate the chat right here. Oh, thank you so much, Neon, for putting up the Discord invitation. That means the world to me that you do that because I am really terrible, and I really mean that. I'm really terrible at what's the term I'm looking for? Staying on top of that. I really am. I'm just man, I'm bad at it. But so now that we got all that stuff coming down and all those things, yeah, got the Discord up, got all those things. Haha, clever comments. Like I said, just try not to dominate the whole thing. I want people to feel like they have a place in the conversation as well. So, with all that, I gotta say, if y'all got any questions or comments, then feel free to email me at backinthedeck@gmail.com. That's BACKINTHEDECK @gmail.com. You can also reach out to me on the social medias, Twitter and Instagram at backinthedeck, TikTok at bidp, and of course our Facebook group, Deckers on the Book. So yeah, we got a lot of stuff coming down for you guys, a whole lot of stuff. We got some returning folks out there. What's going on, GM? Man, we just got so many things out there just waiting for folks to come in and all that jazz. So today like I said, I want to talk about some really, really, really important things. And when I say important, I mean things that are mostly important to me. I'm not gonna lie. These are things that are really important to me. Um, Things that are, I suppose you can say that's out there. But, oh, I forgot to do the second part, which was that. So today, we are seriously going to be talking about something that's seriously near and dear to me. It is so, so important because this is something that I see all the time with new players, um, with players from certain regions and certain cultures and stuff like that. And the thing is, have you ever, and I mean this, have you ever played a game and, or should I say, have you ever run a game and you put together a lot of story beats, locations, you got a whole lot of set pieces, you've got your villain, you've got your, or should I say, you got your BBEG, you got your underboss, you got the whole thing going, right? You're seriously doing the whole thing, and you think, and I mean this, you think you got all that stuff handled. And then you get players, sometimes new players, sometimes older players, sometimes players that are just so, what's the term I'm looking for? So jazzed. I think that's the term. Jazzed about their new thing. And when I say their new thing, I mean a lot of the times we got new toys. We level up, we get new spells. We just got so many other things that are going on that we want to hurry up and we want to get in there. But mostly, it's what I call the Whedon effect. And I don't mean Will. Okay, Will Whedon, he's fine, whatever. But the Joss Whedon effect. Now, here we go with me starting a little bit of controversy all over again. It is very known to everyone that doesn't, or that knows me outside of here, that I am not a fan of Joss Whedon's work. Okay, I never liked the dude, but I never really liked his shows. Okay, I didn't like his shows. I'm real lukewarm on his movies. Yeah, a couple of things do hit, but the stuff that I like are things that the actors mostly carry over. Don't stop it. Get away from your keyboard. Don't start typing in project after project he's done. Too many people are like, what? You don't like his stuff? And then they just start listing stuff off that he's written before. And I'm like, no, dude, I just, yeah. Okay. No, there's one thing from him that I genuinely liked, and then I realized it was something that the cast was carrying. All right. So that's a big thing. I'm not getting into that. But I will say the reason I've never been a big fan, not just because I didn't grow up in the suburbs and middle class. Okay. His stuff isn't written for me, and that's fine. What I don't like is when I watched or tried watching all of his stuff, because, it was a cultural phenomenon, especially back in the 90s and the early 2000s. The number one thing I saw was really good story ideas, but every single character in every episode was falling all over each other to be clever and snarky, and I'm gonna put this out there, okay? Especially in the 90s, all right? This is like full disclosure. I love clever dialogue, okay? I was a Quentin Tarantino fan for a long time. We're talking Reservoir Dogs, Pulp Fiction, Jackie Brown. God, where did I jump off the Tarantino train? I think I jumped off at Inglourious Bastards. At that point, I think he got way too many passes for dropping the N-bomb. But outside of that, I like clever, witty Planet Terror I looked at more as a Rodriguez project because of the whole Grindhouse thing, but you know. But I like banter. I like snappy dialogue. I like witty stuff. What I don't like, you know, are people's attempts at being witty, where the desire to be clever or to win the conversation or to win the scene um overshadows the scene or the story itself. You get what I'm saying? Um, I can really point this out better with music, but what you got with a lot of players is they're so intent on finding a way to stand out. And in my region, what I definitely see is something that wasn't as apparent when I was growing up. Okay. But again, I grew up in the hood, not in the suburbs. But when I moved to the suburbs, I learned by observation and tests and talking to a few people who were not unwilling to tell me candidly what they or others around them were thinking. And that was really important to me. Um, that there is a really big mindset um, of you don't matter unless you're the star. You know, you have to be the top. You have to top the bill. You have to be the boss. You have to be in charge. You have to be the smartest or the funniest or the cleverest, but always has to be an EST when it comes to you. And if you don't have an est, then you don't matter at all. Okay? And this is a weird. Do I think it's a lasting effect of the Victorian College's obsession with trying to make every student Diogenes? No, I don't. I actually think that it's more of a reflection of the 1980s and the business boom. Okay. The whole idea in the 1980s was you're not a real adult unless you are the boss. You can't just go to work, make your paycheck, and then spend that paycheck taking care of your family and getting to know your kids. You got to strive for more. You got to be higher. You're not a real adult until other people are working for you. That whole idea of second place winner is first place loser. And this pushes people to try and be the funniest one. Everyone is trying to get that zinger, that sound bite, that I guess you can say news clip, the meme. They're trying to get that whole thing. And as time has gone on, even in everyday work, I see a lot of people much younger than me feeling that they have to make, hey, what's going on, Venom Ross? First time chatting, but thank you so much for following and signing up on the Instagram, and I really appreciate that. It's good to see you here. Blurtish, what's going on, Mr. Cooper? So yeah, today, this whole mindset of having to be the boss, you ain't no kind of man unless you got land. You're a loser in life unless you're the one signing the checks. It's not enough to have a check to support your family. It's not enough to be part of a group. You have to be the leader, and that mindset came out really big in the 1980s. Okay. In the 1980s, with the boom of the Antichrist, also known as Ronald Wilson Reagan, it was all about making your own business, never working for anybody else, making all the money, and greed is good. Okay. And what this has done to the children who were raised by the people that had that mindset is given them a lot of insecurity when they're around other people, because the competition never ends, even when we're around our friends doing stuff for hobbies, like playing games. Now, make no mistake, okay? Um, when it comes to your tabletop experience, yeah, sometimes when you're in a competitive environment, I get that. However, every hobby environment, be it comics, games, playing with toys, hanging out with your friends, should always be pleasurable, not a competition to show your worth of living. And again, the 1980s was really, really big on this. As a lot of you guys know, I'm a bass player, all right? And being a bass player, we are never, ever, ever expected to be the guy that's in front, okay? Seriously. Um, when I was growing up listening to music, all the bass players that I studied as a kid when I was listening to music, from Prince to Marcus Miller to Bootsy Collins, Bootsy got to start with James Brown. So when you were going to see the James Brown band, if you were there to see Bootsy, that was nice, but really you were there to see James. When I went into metal, a lot of folks were like, oh my God, I love Def Leppard, I love Motley Crue, and Poison. You talk about CC DeVille, but you never talk about Bobby Dahl. You talk about Pete Townsend from The Who, but you never talk about John Entwistle. You know what I mean? And the thing is, every single ensemble piece of anything has a minimum requirement of, what's the term I'm looking for? A minimum requirement of, I suppose the term I'm looking for is pieces. Okay, a serious minimum requirement of pieces. But see, the people that want to be not pieces, not just players, because sometimes there's a conductor, sometimes there's a singer. A lot of the times they're dancers, go to a live show. Again, I'm big on Prince. I'm really big on Prince. And, have been my whole life. That man on stage was glorious, and I could fit him in my pocket, which was kind of cool. Here are the serious facts. Yes, meant it in a theater sense. Yes, players. Even your favorite stand-up comedians have somebody behind the stage controlling the volume, the tenor, and the equalization of the mic. And a lot of the stand-up people that I see, they have a background thing. There's always the people in the background. It's not just the person that you see, although everyone's fighting to be the person that you see. All right. Speaking of which, WGA, pay your people. God, And so this is a really big thing that a lot of people try and get around because no one wants to be the guy in the back. A lot of people don't want to be on a winning team. The 80s was the really big time where this happened, especially in music. And I don't care if you're talking country, rock, hip hop, pop, don't matter. I'm about to bring up examples from every single one. All right. When I was growing up and gangster rap had become a thing, it was launched by NWA. All right. Specifically, the ensemble hip hop band with Ice Cube, Dr. Dre, DJ Ren, Eazy-E. All right. Boom, 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 boom. All right. And sure enough, as soon as a band gets popular, then the industry wants to push the front person to go solo. All right. I think it was like back in 1985. NWA had become a nationwide sensation and a whole bunch of controversy. And then boom, everybody wanted Eazy-E to go solo and put out his own albums. With rock, we could talk about the Police. The Police was an amazing power trio. And one of the places where the bass player was the front man, but so few people only heard his voice, And by the time Synchronicity 2 came out with, One of my favorite songs, which is actually Synchronicity 2. But then there was always, Murder by Numbers and stuff like that. Um, by that point, it was time for Sting to go solo, you know? Um, Same with the Bengals, same with the Go-Go's when it comes to pop. We had the Go-Go's, that was decent, and then we move on to Belinda Carlisle. But there's always this thing of if you were part of a successful ensemble, you need to break out and go on your own, especially if you're the person in the front, because the fame should be yours. Screw your bass player, screw your drummer. And I say that because in the 80s, and this was big, there were the lead guitar players. Okay, so much so that people in my culture consider the electric guitar the lead guitar. They're like, no, I play acoustic, I play lead. I'm like, yeah, I get why you're saying that, you know. And the rhythm guitar player hardly ever got any clout, any play. Most of the time, people don't even know. The kings of metal right now are Metallica, you know. Um, I mean, yeah, it's true, Sad Strange Little Man. There are outliers, but let's be real, okay? Again, what was the name of the bass player for Motley Crue? How about Korn? How about Soundgarden? That's the part that I'm coming on. Yeah, Destiny's Child fell apart when Beyonce left. In the huge public eye, they're still releasing albums. They're still doing fine. They still eat, and we all good. But, but the ensemble that's behind it is the thing that really holds it up. When Michael Jackson left the Jackson 5, he still had amazing musicians behind him. But most folks want to be clever in group activities, in games, even in team sports. Everybody wants to be the one that scores the winning goal, the quarterback that throws the winning pass. You know what I'm talking about, all right? Again, I grew up in the 80s and 90s, so I was there when the Lakers were Showtime and they were the kings of the basketball courts, and then came the Bulls with their streak. And everybody talks about Jordan, but he was backed up by Scottie Pippen and then Dennis Rodman for a little while. Like, the Bulls were a strong team, all right? Later on came the Shaq and Kobe years of the Lakers. You know what I'm talking about. Probably better than I do because I don't watch sports. But I used to, all right? I had to in order not to get beat up at school. You know what I'm talking about. But when it comes to playing your games, everybody has this desire to want to be the clever one, to come up with the game-winning idea. And that is not terrible. It's great to want to be clever. However, there are times and places. I know when I teach people how to play board games, tabletop miniatures games, role-playing games, they want to go straight from learning the bare bones basics to being Joe Montana, to being Michael Jordan, and I'm just like, whoa, slow down, and I'm sure you guys are starting to notice that this is stuff that applies in your life too, because see, here's the thing. All right, here is the really, really big thing. Like I said, Metallica are the kings of metal, right? But not a lot of people understand that the foundations of most of Metallica's music come from James and his lightning thrash rhythm guitar strums, okay? He's the one that does the in whatever it is that they're doing, Before they had Cliff, the guy that I was studying hard, and he was the heart of the band, and then James had to pick up the slack when they got Jason. But when most people hear musicians, they want the middly mouse, They look at the guitar, and the main thing they want are the middly mouse, right? And I call them the Middly Mow because Middly Mow, Middly Mow, Middly Mow, Middly Mow, Middly Mow, Middly. And they don't really think about, the fact that my mic is too close to my chest. But they don't really think about, you know, every time they see that stuff, they're like, oh man, anybody can do that. Can they? Can anybody do that? When I'm a GM, I need that drum rhythm, that kick drum. What kind, like what genre am I doing? Am I doing a horror game? Am I doing an adventure game? Okay. But everything I do has got to go back to that beat, Came for the Warhammer, stayed for the bass. Exactly. And this is really big, even when you're putting together your team, you need that rhythm. What kind of team you're putting together, what kind of game you're putting together. Is this offensive? Is it defensive? Is it objective secure? Is it wipe the other theme off the table, but that theme, that's that rhythm, that heart. All right? That's that drum. You can have your centerpiece. See? Yeah. And that establishes your groove. What does your team do? What's the groove? What is the pacing and the feel of the story that you're putting in, And see, here's the thing. A lot of people, new GMs, new players, they want to go straight for all the fancy stuff, all right? Years and years and years and years ago, back in the days where Street Fighter II Alpha was in the arcades, and I mean newly in the arcades, I played one of the dudes that I look up to seriously, all right? This guy is an amazing dude, teaches financial literacy to disenfranchised kids in the DC area. My man. And I played him in Street Fighter II, all right? He played Chun-Li. I was playing Ryu, and this game has stuck with me for 30 years, and this is why. I was playing Ryu and I was doing all this stuff. I had so much of the Middly Mows, and I'm talking the Middly Mows, right? I'm doing all of that stuff. And he kept beating me because that was him. Steady. Okay? Every time I got close, he'd trip me. Every time. Trip. 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 I'd be jumping off, Now I would be jumping all over the screen. And he would just be there. And then eventually, I had to go on to him. And he just knocked me down the whole time. He didn't know any fancy moves with Chun-Li. He didn't have the I can stand on my head, spread my legs, and helicopter all the way across the board. He didn't have any of that. But he could trip me. He could do the right timing. And just keep tripping me. And then when I caught on to that, I would change my thing. And you know what he would do? Another basic move. Just right timing, whole time. Now, what does this mean when you're running a game? When you're running a game, there will be that player that wants to be all there's going to be that player that wants to do that ranger that wants to shoot the arrows at the everything all the time, But who keeps your game in place? The fighter. Or that cleric. That fighter, that cleric. And the whole thing is, when those guys are keeping everything solid and you got that foundation, that serious foundation, all right, that hardcore foundation, that groove, that thing that lets you stomp your feet, the thing that is part of that game. You've got something coherent. But what happens is a lot of times you start to put your team together, right? You're putting your team together and you've got your HQ, But if you're a Timmy like me, you've got that centerpiece model. And that centerpiece model, I don't care what it is, if it's a big monster, if it's a knight, if it's something, if it's the big bad evil guy, if I'm the GM, I've got this thing inside me going, yeah, hurry up and get there, hurry up and get there. I can't wait for this climax. I planned for it for 3 months. But it means nothing. It's just noise. In the words of Earn on Atlanta, it's like a combination of sounds, but it's not music. You see what I mean? You got to have your basic building blocks, the key, the rhythm, that's one of the really big things. And here's the gig. This stuff, these basic building blocks, they may sound boring, all right? I can tell you, years and years doing that, just doing my scales over and over and over, trying to get that foundation in there, right? And even when I was doing professionally, all people wanted to hear was 1 5 1 5 1 5. That's all they wanted to hear. And I'm sitting up and I'm seeing the lead guitar player get all the middly mouths, and I'm hearing dudes like Victor Wooten and Les Claypool and Geddy Lee, and they get to do all that stuff. But they're better players than me. Not because they can do all of these techniques, sure, they can do all the techniques. But the cleverness, the actual genius, not the look at me, I'm clever, is understanding when to do those cool things and when not to do those cool things. In War Machine, every single warcaster, that's your HQ, your general, your big leader, they have something called a feat. And this is a once per game thing, that they can do that literally can win them the game more often than not. Okay, it's like, what? If I kill their quarterback, then I win the game. I've got this thing that'll knock over everybody around me within 10 inches of my guy, and I can pump my guy up to have like 15 attacks, and if something is knocked down, you can charge them and it automatically hits. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get within like 10 or 11 inches over there, and then I'm going to pop my feet, and I'm going to run down there past everybody else that was a bodyguard, and I'm going to wail on that dude. Game over. Yay, clever. Not quite fun, but clever, However, when to do that in game, that is the brilliance. When to slide in those techniques. How many of the techniques or the clever stuff do you not use? Okay. Now, I recently played a couple of games of Warhammer 40K, and I mean just a couple. All right. But the first game I played was with the Eldar. You guys saw it. It was live. It should still be in the Twitch archives. If not, it's going up on YouTube rather soon. And they have this amazing ability where you roll 12 dice and you put them aside, and if you roll a lot of sixes, then you just have a bunch of sixes banked, and that is great. If you're playing D&D, it's like having a divination caster, except instead of rolling 2 dice at the beginning of the day, you roll a dozen, and you keep all those 20s, that's just kind of cool. But To know when to use them takes that ability from really useful to broken. Okay? And most people want to be clever at the beginning before they understand how the rules work in order to be that guy. You know that guy. The star, the lead guitarist, the funniest one. Again, one of the big reasons I never liked most of Joss Whedon stuff, everybody was trying to be funny all the time. Everybody was snarky. Everybody took away, there was so much bathos in that storytelling that there were no serious moments. That was a really big thing. Okay, yeah, you know what? You're absolutely right, Neon. This is a perfect moment for Kenny Rogers. That's just it. Know when to hold him. Know when to fold him. Know when to walk away. Know when to run. And the biggest thing that comes in with games, I don't care what game you're playing, but the idea of being clever, not being clever, all of that stuff, it doesn't matter. Okay? What matters is what's the most fun for the most people. And the folks that are out there trying to be clever all the time, they don't really think about how their attempts at being clever can ruin the playing experience for everyone at the board. One of the first times I experienced this was I was in a game of Unified White Wolf. If you guys don't understand that, the game company White Wolf back in the 90s started with Vampire the Masquerade, and they created essentially an RPG for every Universal movie monster. There were Frankensteins, there were werewolves. I played wizards because me. And there was one of the dudes that was playing a wizard from the Akashic Brotherhood, warrior monks that had magic, and he was an archer, and essentially he wasn't just a murder hobo, but even before the GM said roll initiative, if anything new was happening, he shot it. And he was so good at it, it took away the chance for anyone else to interact with most of those characters. You see what I mean? Because his big thing was he's so clever he can break any game. So he played every role-playing game to win. And I'm not saying that's a bad way to play. But what I am saying is when we have the temptation to be clever, to break the game, to be the best, to outshine everyone else, even if we're doing it at with hard work, do the people around us want to be blinded by our light? Now this might hit a little odd for a lot of you guys, all right? And I get it. I totally get it. But follow me on this one, okay? Seriously, follow me. There is an old saying from when I was growing up about bragging and boasting, okay? Never tell people what you're good at. Let the people that you've worked for tell them, okay? When your reputation precedes you, it has a lot more power than you constantly auditioning. I can tell you, I'm a snarky man. I really am. My brain works so quick with most things that I have a fun little retort for just about everything all the time. I could be a Joss Whedon character, but one of the reasons that people think I'm funny, not just looking, is that I don't say every punchline that comes to my head. I don't hit every piece of snark that I could throw out there at every single moment. I have to assess the situations, read the room. Sometimes, all right, sometimes when you're in a game, you know the trope. You know how that's coming. But this is where people become obnoxious and where I get really unpleasant to be around. I've got this thing about being cut off. All right. When I'm talking, don't cut me off. Let me finish, and then you will speak, and I will let you finish, unless I have to stop you to ask you to clear up something that I don't understand. You know, people speaking a lot of colloquialisms, and I'm not up on all the stuff. If you're under 40, it's gonna happen to you. If you guys are over 40, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Um, and a lot of people who are aching to be clever, they cut off everyone. If there are GMs out there other than the one that I know is in the crowd right now, what's going on, bro? I'm really trying to make it tomorrow. Um, there's so many people who want to hurry up and jump on that line. Like, that could have been a funny moment. I'm going to get that. But they cut off the person that's talking. And sometimes this is during plot exposition. Sometimes this is during the moment in game where the introvert hasn't said anything for an hour and a half because they didn't feel comfortable doing so. And then boom, they're cut off by somebody wanting to be clever, you know? And that can lead to a serious feel bad moment, you know? I know most of my feel bad moments in tabletop miniatures game came from people that went so hard against me as a new player and then never explained to me what happened or how it happened. I used to tell the people I used to game with, look, this isn't fun for me, and if you don't want me playing anymore, just say so out loud. Because when I play against you, I lose and I don't know what's going on, and all you tell me is it's the shui. I don't even know what shui is. I'm not Asian. I don't speak Cantonese, Mandarin, Taiwanese, Vietnamese, or freaking or Mongolian. I don't speak those things. They're not my culture. I don't understand. And every time I ask you to teach it to me, you give me some other phrase I don't understand. So this isn't fun for me. I feel like I'm a 10-year-old white belt in a freaking octagon with Chuck Norris. That's not a fun experience for me. But they're so busy playing hard, being clever, and going through all of their Johnny combos and stuff that I couldn't play. you know, you know, and eventually they got it. They really understood that I wasn't playing a mind game. Yeah, they meant feng shui, like the flow of the energy in the deck or the team. So when they finally taught me what they were saying, I understood better, but I didn't understand how to utilize it. I just sat down at the table, got beat up. It's a lot like playing a lot of games at a casino where I'm looking to have fun and I put my money down and a nice lady smiles at me and takes it away. Good times, you know? Uh, so that's the thing. A lot of people are so caught up in their game plan and being clever that they don't really take a look at the world around them. This is why communication with the other players is so important. Yes, even in competitive games, okay? That's real talk. Um because even when you're playing a game like 40K, War Machine, Magic the Gathering, Yu-Gi-Oh, and stuff like that. Um, Again, I've told you guys about the Kick Solar and the Taint deck that my friend made, where she was clever. Look at her. She was so clever. She made a deck that didn't allow me to play because she would nuke my land as I put it on the board. And then, like, if her deck was running slow, I could get out a creature, and then she'd draw a card, nuke the creature, and nuke the land. Yay! She's clever. Every time after that, she asked me if I wanted to play Magic. I told her not against that deck. Because that's not me playing. That's me standing there and getting beat up. And, you know, I know a lot of people who dig that kind of thing, and I don't kink shame. But I will say that it's not mine. You know, not my kink. And so, with all that, what I want to put out to you guys today is when you're building your teams, planning your games, building your character, there's nothing wrong with wanting to be clever, okay? There's nothing wrong with coming up with cool combos. There's absolutely nothing wrong with coming up with a really character in your RPG that's really, really good at combat, or a really cool loadout for your Space Marines, or a really, really cool set of combos for your Magic deck. That's totally cool. The thing is, don't let the desire to be clever overshadow the fact that you are playing a game with someone else. Okay, that is really important. And why am I doing this? Why does this mean so much to me? There was a time where I was surrounded by so many people that wanted to be clever that it infected me as well. And it was fine in that circle of players. But when I played against people who weren't them, no one wanted to play with me because I was so busy being clever that I had become the game bully, you know? And I'd become that way because that's what I thought the game was. That was the paradigm that I was in, okay? I'm a pretty smart guy. You know, I've been told that by professionals. You know, I'm a pretty smart dude. But the thing on being smart is that whether or not anybody tells me, whether or not I get kudos for being smart, that doesn't diminish my intelligence. And a lot of folks believe that without the external validation of their intelligence or the humiliation of their opponents, that their intelligence either goes away or is useless. And that's not true at all. And this is coming from a person that had gifted kid syndrome when they were a gifted kid. What's up? Let's see. I think that many board games players forget the point of a board game is usually to bring people together. Right? Exactly. You know, when I was working at an RPG store, I did my best never to sell the game Diplomacy. I called it the friend ender. You know, just like if I were working at a store today, I would never sell Super Fight, you know, because too many ways to play a lot of these games are about being clever and using one's cleverness to humiliate other people. And playing games in order to humiliate is never a good thing. You know, but when it comes to being clever, when do you do that fill? When do you do that solo? You do it when it's right for the song, okay? And the only way to know that your solo or your fill is right for the song is to be engaged with it as you're playing, to listen to the other musicians, you know? You want the good Shakespearean monologue, you know? It's funny. I grew up around a lot of Shakespeare snobs. Oh my God, so many Shakespeare snobs. I know all the soliloquies. Almost makes me throw up in my mouth a little bit. However, they were so busy on memorizing the text that they lost the context of the words. You know, when Hamlet is literally wondering if he should kill his uncle's stepfather while he's asleep, that's big. But he's like, wait a second, killing him is only part of it. I need to show the world what he did. And if I kill him, well, that's just brother fighting brother. The Avatar is the one who, oh my God, that was a mixed metaphor. But seriously, the context of that middly mow, that means everything. You know, when do you use that stratagem? How does that stratagem serve the overall plan and the gameplay? Because when you have those fills, those solos, those plays that are just The ones that make everyone watching and everyone at the table go, oh, that puts you in magnificent bastard part. That gives you magnificent bastard status, not just bastard status. Okay? I have friends nowadays that I play with from time to time that when they do that stuff, I'm like, and you, oh, well played. Yes, I have officially been outplayed, and I will tell you, the place where being clever doesn't, what's the term I'm looking for? Provide a fun environment is between veteran players and new players. When a new player is trying to be clever, it's very important to impress upon them the importance of understanding the rules. Now, I have dealt with so many players. If y'all play Magic, back me up on this. A lot of new players try and play a card that they can't play because they read the first line and they go, ha, I'm clever, I beat you. I'm like, read the rest of the paragraph. Oh, only against a white or a blue deck. Yeah, I'm playing black and green. You can't play that card against me. And then they feel bad. You feel bad for making them feel bad, and nothing good comes down, A person I used to play with all the time was notorious for this. They were so busy trying to be clever that they never read the rule books to any of the games that we played, And I'm like, I know that you're intelligent. That's why I'm on you to read the books. Learn the rules, come up with plays, and trust me to not try and stomp down anything you say. Because as we all know, guys, trust is a really, really, really big part of doing anything with other people. And when a player doesn't trust you, to teach them properly or to follow the rules, not only are they trying to be clever, but they're not trying to outplay you at the game. They're trying to outsmart you. And in my region, in Southern California, a lot of folks do it partly because of ego investment, like we talked about in the beginning of the show. That idea of, I have to do this in order to prove my value because I don't have any value unless I dominate. I have to be the leader. And if you guys play role-playing games, you see this all the time when it comes to one character arguing with another over whether or not they should open that chest, We've seen it 100 times, and these are very standard things. But when it comes to the desire to be clever, okay, that desire to be clever, the one to solve the puzzle, the one to have the aha moment, so many people want it. If you're a GM, don't hold it back, okay? Don't hold it back, because I can let you know as a GM, we want to be clever too. But that place to be clever, that place to add that fill, that solo, that middle mow, all comes down to the context of the game that you're playing at that moment, okay? If you're playing 40K against somebody and they're having a rough go of it because for the life of them they can't roll over 2, then maybe it's not the best time to play that stratagem. Hey, what's going on, Xanathades? Yes, your fighter had a great disarm traps bonus. It was called hit points. Oh my god. Yeah, actually, one of the players, I was in one campaign where the fighter had the best shield ever. It was called the Bard. And it literally gave them an extra 36 hit points. It was fantastic. But yeah, I mean, the whole point that I'm getting to with being clever is the best part of being clever is when being clever serves the overall. All right. Um, God, what was it? There. Okay. One of my favorite movies, actually my absolute favorite movies, take that down. There might be a quiz later on in the month. Is Casablanca. And one of the reasons that Casablanca is one of my favorite movies is because the dialogue is more on point than any movie before or since, in my opinion. You know, one of the best placed jokes is the prefect shutting down Rick's Cafe. And it's like, what, everyone, we're closed. We're officially determining this place closed. And Humphrey Bogart walks up to him. It's like, hey, what is this? It's like, I'm shocked and appalled that there's gambling happening here. Oh, you're winning, sir. Oh, thank you very much. Close it down. you know, yeah, the whole idea, the innuendos, the clever statements. Yeah, they didn't take away from the scene because real talk. Reno getting his winnings from the casino after saying he's shocked that there's gambling going on, close it down, was absolute proof of the lie that he was just shutting it down because the Germans told him to. You know, we see it, it happens, it's funny, and they move on with the scene. You know, the writer that tries to be clever would have had Rick snap back with a witty retort, and then Renault snap back with a witty retort to Rick's witty retort, and it just would have gone on too long, too much. It was the perfect amount of humor and seriousness, you know? And the movie is riddled with stuff like that, you know? You've got freaking Peter Lorre going, Rick, you despise me, don't you? And Rick, without missing a beat, if I gave you any thought, I probably would. You know, and make no mistake, everyone, every writer, every person in a conversation, they want to be the writers of Casablanca. They would love to be Groucho Marx, you know, they would love to be that. However, not everyone can, not because they can't think of a witty retort, but because not everyone is willing, to examine the context of the situation to insert cleverness. You know, I mean, one of my favorite lines from Groucho Marx is he's hiding people in his hotel room, and he's like, look, there's nobody in here. And the guy's like, what do you mean? Your table's set for 4. He's like, my alarm's set for 8. It doesn't prove a thing. He's trying to throw the guy off of the scent to the fact that he is hiding a bunch of people in his room. But he uses the wit as a deflection and not just a, hey, look at how clever I am. All right. So if you want to be clever, understand the context of what your plan is, whether or not right now is the time, and does it add or diminish from the overall context and theme that you're working at. You know, when I play 40K, I love when big things explode. Okay, I think that is so cool. You know, just the idea of, okay, we blew up the tank. Actually, we really blew up the tank. Oh my God, it's going to take out the infantry that finally cracked through the armor. Crap. You know, or, aha, I see you brought a great big thing. If I take that down before it gets across the board, I could take out a good amount of your army. That will be clever. Now, let's say I'm playing elves and I have that 6 banked. You know, I could use that 6 to blow up the thing. I could do that. Okay? But would it serve my purpose? Would it take out part of his army? Would it grab me an objective? Would it be funny to do so? Maybe, maybe not. The last time I had the chance to do that, which was on the episode that we filmed live from Guildhouse Games in Bellflower, California. What's up, Charles? I could have done that, but there were no other models around him, and I would have just wasted a 6 that I probably could have used later. So I didn't do it. It would have been clever. Would have been like, aha, but deadly demise. Oh no, I rolled a 4, but I could have gone deadly demise. I use my 6. But you know what? There was no point in that. You know, it was a clever thing to do. Okay. It let me know that I could set up those kinds of traps in the future if I ever play Eldari again. I've not chosen my army for 40k, but it's in my pocket. Like so many riffs, so many tricks, you know. And the thing is, if I don't use them, it's not like they're going away. I can do that in any other time. And that is one of the big things about being clever or wanting to be clever. You missed the punchline this time. No biggie. You know, you didn't do the, haha, you have activated my trap card in this game. There will be other stuff. Because remember, guys, all the stuff that we do here, be it Warhammer 40k, Dungeons and Dragons, Esper Genesis, Fallout Wasteland Warfare, Rangers of Shadow Deep, whatever game you play, will not be your last game. And I promise you that between this game and 10 games from now, you'll have at least one, if not 3 more chances to do the clever thing again. You know? So let me know what you guys think. If you guys have any questions or comments about that, let me know. All right? And how do you let me know? Simple. Pull up your email and type in backinthedek@gmail.com. That's BACKINTHEDECK@gmail.com. You can also hit me up on Twitter or Instagram, also at backinthedek. Reach out to me at TikTok at bidpy, that's BIDPY. And join the Facebook group, Deckers on the Book. Show us your builds. Show us your painting. Show us, you know, the terrain you might be building right now, especially if you're feeling bad about what you do. Show them to us, because we are not, you know, the Deckers aren't the group that goes, well, you know, that's good, but you could. No, most of the time we're like, dude, that is awesome. Oh man, that is so cool. And thank you, Neon Arlecchino, for putting up our Discord invitation. Now, I want to put this out there. All right, y'all. We have a Patreon. We sell merch. We can do all that stuff. And I've definitely noticed, and of course we have a donation button. And as I said yesterday, I had to go out and apply for a job working for other people at Starbucks. So we'll see if I get that. But what I will say is this. We're always taking donations. We have a Patreon. And I've noticed a trend that states, join our Patreon and get access to our Discord. I'm not going to do that. There will always be the free Discord, okay? Now, will there be a patrons-only Patreon? Maybe. But I don't like putting experiences and relationships and stuff behind a paywall. Why? I grew up Poe. Now, does that mean that what I'm offering has no value? I don't think so. And if you're watching this right now, you don't think so either. So, you know, maybe pop on down to TeePublic, get yourself a shirt or a coffee cup or something like that. And if you're watching on YouTube, do all those YouTube things, like, subscribe, leave a comment so that the algorithm can be like, hey, there's some long form content that people like. I'm going to be launching a huge campaign to change up all my freaking thumbnails, because I know they look the same and stuff like that. And I got a lot of work to do on that front. And also, I am beginning, as of today, to put a lot more stuff onto our SoundCloud. Yeah, this is also a podcast. So we're doing the SoundCloud thing. And with the SoundCloud thing, what I will do is put the audio recordings for all this for the people that want to listen to us and have these conversations in their cars. Because, again, I don't want to have to go back to office work, and the warehouse is kind of killing me. So with all that, thank you guys for showing up. Thanks for kicking it. Like I said today, yeah, I decided to play a little bass for you guys, not a full song or anything, because I can't afford any rights to anything. So but yeah, you guys have been on me to be like, hey, play some bass on the thing, and I'm like, what context could I use that and I found one. So, if anybody tells you guys that you guys can't like what you like because of the circumstances of your birth, be it race, religion, creed, gender identity, sexual orientation, disability, or your budget, not to mention neurospice, because we all know that the trailer park is never too far from the hood, you can tell them to take any of those cards and put them back in the deck. This is Solar Gray, the Cinematic Sorcerer, saying thank you guys, and we will see you next time on the dark side of the room.